The voicemail came before dawn, in that hollow hour when the world feels unfinished. My phone vibrated once on the nightstand, sharp against the silence, then went still. I didn't reach for it right away. Unknown numbers were usually mistakes or people looking for someone else. Eventually, I pressed play. Miss Everly, this is Claire Donovan from National Morning Report. We're preparing a detailed segment on the allegations surrounding your brother, State Senator Thomas Everly, and the Everly Family Foundation. We understand you've been distant from your family for some time. We believe your perspective could add important context. Her voice was careful, neutral, polished, the kind of voice trained to sound compassionate without actually asking for anything real. I listened to the message twice, then I deleted it. For most of my life, no one wanted to hear my perspective. I was the extra name people forgot to mention, the shadow at the edge of photographs. And now, when everything was collapsing, when the story had finally caught fire, suddenly I mattered. They always realized that too late. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet. After 20 years of living in the background of my own family, silence had become familiar, comfortable even. I opened my laptop out of habit, not to respond to the reporter, but because some instincts don't disappear just because you walk away. I knew exactly what kind of story they wanted from me. I also knew exactly which story I would never tell out loud. Because in my family, nothing happened by accident, not success, not failure, not even childhood. In the Everly family, destiny wasn't discovered, it was assigned. My brother, Thomas Everly, was born to lead, groomed for the spotlight. Confidence radiated from him even as a child. He could charm a room and command a conversation. Adults found in him a mirror for their ambitions, and my parents saw a future they had already chosen for him. I, Amelia Everly, was born to assist. My parents never used those words, but they never needed to. They weren't cruel people. Cruelty implies carelessness, and my parents were nothing if not deliberate. They thought in the long term. They planned in decades, not years. They saw legacy where others saw life. They didn't raise children. They built a future. Thomas was the visible structure, the polished exterior everyone admired. I was the support buried beneath the ground, expected to carry weight quietly and never crack. Some of my earliest memories aren't of playing, but of waiting. At community fundraisers and local events, Thomas was always guided toward the stage. Even at 10 years old, he stood confidently under bright lights, delivering speeches written by adults but spoken as if they belonged to him. People smiled, people applauded. I stood off to the side, holding his water bottle, his notes, his jacket. I was always told the same thing: stand still, be quiet, don't distract. When people praised him, my parents glowed. When people noticed me at all, it was usually to say, "You must be so proud of your brother." And slowly, quietly, I learned that my role wasn't to shine. It was to reflect. As we grew older, the pattern didn't change. It hardened. Thomas's achievements became family events. Debate trophies, leadership programs, internships, all reasons for celebrations, photos, announcements. His success belonged to everyone. My achievements were acknowledged privately, efficiently, briefly. When I won the state history competition, my mother hugged me and said, "That's wonderful, Amelia." Then she checked her phone and asked if I'd heard back from Thomas yet. When I graduated from high school as valedictorian, my father shook my hand, told me he was proud, and moved on. Thomas's future always felt urgent. Mine felt optional. They invested in him heavily. Speech coaches, political camps, networking trips disguised as family vacations. Every expense made sense because Thomas was going places. When I told my father I wanted to study archival science, he listened carefully, the way someone listens when they're already preparing a polite rejection. "That's interesting," he said, "but think about something practical, something that supports the family's work." I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. Support meant Thomas. Family's work meant his career, so I adapted. I stayed close to what I loved, but not close enough to cause friction. I learned systems, records, administration. I learned how power really works, not through speeches, but through paperwork. Not through promises, but through structure. The first thing they took from me that truly mattered happened when I was 22. Thomas was running for the state assembly. His image mattered now. Stability mattered. Tradition mattered. Our actual house didn't fit the story they wanted to sell. My godmother had left me a small rental property. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. A quiet source of income, independence, security. My parents sat me down at the kitchen table like it was a discussion, even though the decision had already been made. "It's temporary," my mother said, covering my hand with hers. "An investment in the family's future. Thomas's success lifts all of us." The property was sold quietly, quickly, and below market value to one of Thomas's donors. I never saw the paperwork. I never saw the money again. I told myself this was loyalty. I told myself family's sacrifice. What I didn't understand yet was that sacrifice in our family only ever moved in one direction. Years later came the Everlie Family Foundation. On paper, it was about community leadership, youth empowerment, and ethical governance. In reality, it was a beautifully constructed machine. I was given a title impressive enough to discourage curiosity: Director of Administrative Oversight. It meant I handled everything no one wanted to look at. I filed incorporation documents. I processed donations. I tracked disbursements. I balanced accounts late into the night while Thomas and my parents attended galas, smiling beneath chandeliers, thanking donors whose checks I had already logged. I didn't attend those events. I was too essential behind the scenes. That suited everyone, until the pattern appeared. One afternoon, reconciling accounts, I noticed several large payments labeled strategic outreach. Generic names. Clean descriptions. Too clean. I cross-referenced them without thinking. That's when the loop revealed itself. Money donated to the foundation. Money paid out to consulting firms. Consulting firms owned by campaign supporters. It wasn't messy corruption. It was elegant, designed to survive casual scrutiny. I brought it to my father. He didn't react. "This is how foundations work," he said calmly. "Relationships need maintenance. You keep the books accurate, leave strategy to us." He framed secrecy as trust. He framed my concern as innocence. And in that moment, the background stopped feeling like safety. It started feeling like a blindfold they assumed I wore willingly. What they never understood was this: archivists don't just store information. We understand structure. We see how records connect, how silence becomes evidence, how timing exposes intent. My training wasn't about paper. It was about truth, and for years I had been the sole keeper of theirs. I didn't steal documents. I didn't copy files. I didn't need to. I knew where everything lived, which transactions were public, which were scattered through intermediaries, which properties were purchased with blended funds. I understood the choreography between campaign accounts and charitable grants because I had designed the ledgers that made them appear separate. My power wasn't a smoking gun. It was understanding. I knew exactly which small correction could collapse the illusion, so I waited. I smiled at family dinners. I worked efficiently. I listened more than I spoke. I learned their language so well that I could hear the truth hiding between words. The media attention didn't surprise me. Neither did the audit notice months earlier. I watched Thomas grow louder, sharper, more defensive. I watched my parents' close ranks. Then came the press conference. Thomas stood behind the podium, confident, indignant, righteous. "Everything is transparent," he said. "Legal, public. My own sister manages our records with impeccable integrity." He said my name. That was my moment. I didn't call the reporter. I sent one email to the charity's bureau from my official foundation account. 3 sentences, a single factual correction, one oversight acknowledged. That was enough. They pulled the thread. The structure collapsed. Investigations multiplied. Accounts froze. Narratives unraveled. What had once been dismissed as rumors became documented violations. The fallout wasn't loud. It was quiet. Careers ended. Partnerships dissolved. Invitations stopped arriving. Thomas was indicted. Our last family meeting happened in a lawyer's office. The air felt heavy. Thomas looked hollow. My father stared at the floor. My mother finally looked at me. "You knew," she whispered. I said nothing. That silence did what no interview ever could. I resigned. I left. I moved somewhere anonymous where no one knows my name. I don't follow the trials. Sometimes fragments of news reach me. I feel no victory, only quiet. They believed the background was powerless. They were wrong. The background is where truth waits. I didn't destroy my family. I stopped holding up a lie. Outro. And if you stayed till the end of this story, remember this. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone ignores. The one in the background, watching, listening, understanding the structure of everything. If you enjoy stories like this, stories about silence, truth, and the quiet consequences of being underestimated, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Because the world is full of shouted lies, but the most important stories, the ones that change everything, they aren't shouted, they're uncovered, one quiet truth at a time. Thanks for listening. Until next time.